MJ Melendez.
MJ Melendez. MJ Melendez. Deep to right center. Way back, and that ball is gone.
I was like, hey, where is he going?
Yeah, what's going on here?
You're a big leaguer now. And I was like, what? I was like, this one hurts. It stings a little bit. I thought, like, no doubt, home run off the bat. Oh, I was like, I hit that ball so well.
What was the next day like? So
That's a good question, dude, because, like, not a lot of people ask that.
Yeah.
Greinke is one of the most fun guys I've ever caught.
And what's kind of your story?
Oh, man, so...
The show with Dan and Joe. This is episode 2. This is episode 3. Episode 4. Episode 5.
In the pen, I pour up heavy. In the lamb on a Eddie. I got 3 O's, run the valley. The new Dios, not for belly. Stay that money, Eiffel, Perry. I shoot jumpers, call me Larry. Then they in Yonkers, I need a Navy. Don't need a sponsor, already in heaven.
And what's kind of your story?
Oh, man, so grew up baseball family. Dad was a head coach. When I was born, he was at Bethune-Cookman University. Man, dude, ever since I can remember just being at those games, for me, what I really remember ever since, I was tiny was like the sound of the catcher's mitt. And so that's kind of what made me want to be a catcher. But baseball's been my life, man.
Dude, so you grew up in Southern Florida. So that's kind of a big baseball place. So what was it like with that talent around you growing up?
Yeah, no, dude, it's crazy. Like, I'm going to say baseball in Florida is the best. I know people are going to say, oh, Texas, California, all that stuff. But no, I think Florida's the best talent overall. I mean, you got Central Florida is amazing, South Florida, and even up north, like Jacksonville, really good talent. So just growing up, being able to play against, some of the best in the country was amazing.
What was your journey going up through high school and all that stuff? And when did you start getting recruited?
Yeah, so high school, I started my high school crazy actually in Alabama. My dad was at Alabama State for when I started high school. And so I started there, was still doing travel and everything in Florida. All my team was based out of Florida. We even had a couple guys from like Georgia, a little around the country, but just, man, dude, it was a pretty crazy, time throughout high school because I was in Alabama and obviously baseball there is not, the dominant sport. Football really is.
Yeah.
And, so going through there, just doing my travel ball, kind of throughout the country, mainly in Florida. And then my senior year was in Miami. That's when I had transferred down there. My dad got the job at FIU.
Oh, okay. So you kind of followed your dad. That's what. So is he still coaching right now?
So no, he's not coaching this year. He may jump back into it next year.
Okay.
He's taking a break, just kind of being able to watch me travel around, watch my little brother. Who's at Pitt now, but
okay.
Dude, baseball has been my life all throughout high school and all that stuff, and I had actually committed to play for him. He was at Alabama State coaching.
They're the Yellow Jackets. What is Alabama State?
The Hornets.
The Hornets. Yeah, I remember them.
So I committed to play for him my freshman year of high school.
No way!
I swear,
that's crazy.
That was like before too. Like, how everybody now is like committing at such a young age.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, kids.
You're like, Dad, I got you.
I was like, I want to play for you no matter what, dude. But like, kids back then weren't really committing that early. Now it's like, dude, you see these freshmen and sophomores throwing like 95. I'm like, that's literally, I see that in the big leagues.
That's crazy, yeah.
And you have actual kids throwing that hard. Sometimes it's like, dude, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
I had committed to play for him when I was like really young. And
that's so funny.
Yeah. Whenever he ended up going down to FIU, I switched my commitment and ended up signing there my senior
to FIU.
year.
Okay, that makes sense. So FIU, and then did you go to FIU or you got drafted out of high school?
No, I got drafted out of Westminster out of high school, and it was the draft process was kind of crazy because for me, just growing up, watching my dad be at these schools, being able to compete, being able to go to some regionals. When he was at Bethune-Cookman, he went to 11 regionals in 12 seasons as a head coach.
Oh,
that was
they're
crazy,
competitive.
bro.
I forgot. They knocked out Miami one year, right?
Yeah, they did. So being able to really watch that, and they were never able to make it to a super regional. So I was like, man, I want to go and help my dad, make it to a super regional, make it to a College World Series. That was always the goal. So I really did want to go to college, but also at the same time wanted to play pro ball. So it was really, I was never really stressed like in the draft process. Like obviously, I want to go play pro ball, but I was never stressed like, okay, this is it, or college and I don't know where to go from there. Like I wanted to go to college and play for him. So I obviously ended up working out that I was able to, given a great opportunity by Kansas City Royals. So and everybody always asks like, oh, how's how was your dad with that?
Yeah.
And no, he was just like a normal dad. He wasn't really a coach at that point.
Yeah. So did your dad play pro ball too?
No, so my dad, he became a coach right after college. So he kind of had the chance to go independent and then could have signed on from there. But he got a really good opportunity right after college and became an assistant coach literally right when he graduated.
That's cool, yeah.
And then he became a head coach when he was 25 years old.
Wow.
So,
Wait, where was he at 25?
Bethune-Cookman.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
he's D1 at 25 years old. That's wild. That's
dude.
a crazy story.
It
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is. I'm like, man, dude, I can't think of myself being a head
Head
baseball coach in
coach.
like a year from now, a year and a half from now. Like, I can't imagine myself doing that. So
Yeah.
he was doing it. Yeah.
So you were a second round pick?
Yeah.
So what was draft day like for you?
Okay, so we were at I didn't want to make too big of a deal because, you know, I kind of like knew around where I was going to go, but I wasn't
Right.
100% sure. And, you know, draft day, anything can happen.
Uh-huh.
So we ended up having a suite at FIU down in like the basketball arena. And I had my family there, of course. I had my close teammates, my high school coaches, and some travel ball coaches as well. And just wanted to kind of make it just like a really homey environment just so that, you know, I wasn't really pressured and I wasn't really going to be too nervous, people that I'm really close to. So I remember the first round, there was a possibility of me getting taken, but I wasn't really sure where. Or, you know, there was kind of a couple teams that were in the mix, but I wasn't really sure if they were going to pull the trigger. So I was just like anxious. And I was like, no, I'll be okay. But I was still anxious, you know, kind of, we were getting a couple phone calls, but nothing really like too serious.
Uh-huh.
And ended up being the second round. I know the Padres were pretty serious in the first pick, but I didn't think they were going to be able to give me the amount that I wanted. So then it was really between the Royals and the Astros, and the Royals had to pick before the Astros. I know the Astros were pretty interested at that point.
Those are two good farm systems too.
Yeah,
to get into.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I knew going into it, those were two teams that were really at the top of my list, just because, you know, like when you're going through a draft, you want, you know, there's going to be teams that want you. There's going to be multiple teams that are interested. But I know those two teams like were really, really interested, and those are teams that want me. So I'm like, okay, I want to go where I'm wanted. So those were at the top of my list, and it kind of just worked out that I was like towards the top of their list. So I was really like pretty stress-free when it came to those two teams in the second round, especially them picking 52 and 53. And then obviously I wouldn't change it. I'm so glad that I got drafted by the Royals.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, what was the next day like? So it's probably, like, crazy. Everyone's supporting you then, but, like, you wake up in the morning and then it's just you again. And it's like, what was the next day like?
That's a good question, dude, because, like, not a lot of people ask that.
Yeah.
So the next day, dude, it was, like, so surreal. So that night, even going home, like, in the car with my parents, I was just like, it didn't really feel real. Like, obviously it happened, but I just felt like, okay, that was just like a normal day. But like, obviously something felt a little off.
Right.
So we go home and I get a call from my area scout, and he's like, hey, you know, you got a couple of days at home and we want to fly you out to Arizona so you can sign and start playing. And I was like, okay, well, like, how soon? I'm thinking like maybe a couple of weeks. So I don't know. I was like, I don't know how this really works. So he's like, yeah, like 2 days. And I was like, what? 2 days? There's no way.
That's so quick.
So, like, going into Arizona, not knowing what to expect, like, going into pro ball. So, for me, whenever, you know, I got to the facility, I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, you're in the backfields. You're staying in a hotel. So, it's definitely something a little bit different than, you know, what I would have thought of what you're used to, especially, like, you're going into rookie ball at that point in Arizona, like the Arizona League. So, but man, I just remember it was super hot, and it was like a lot of baseball.
Yeah. Do you get burnt out at some point just because of how much baseball you're playing?
It is a lot of baseball. I don't know if burnt out. I think definitely like tired. And you can get a little mentally tired, but I mean, when you're doing something you love every day, it's like so hard to complain. And like, especially when you're in the minor leagues and the lower levels, like you're just trying to chase that dream. So, I think it's like, it's harder to get burnt out. I think it's just like you're just trying to chase it, man. Like that's all I can, like, that's how I can describe it best.
What's your best story from everyone who's gone through the minors has some like minor league story. What's your best story from that time?
Oh man, I have a ton. I think like the most memorable times for me was my first full season, which was in Low A in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
We lived in an apartment, and it was a 3-bedroom, and we had 5 guys living in it. So we had 2 in the living room. I had a room, and then we had 2 other guys that each had a room. I think just like day in and day out, just, being with 5 guys in one apartment, waking up every day, we're all just trying to like scramble to cook breakfast. We're all like hitching rides to the field with each other. And then, the 12-hour road trips.
Yeah.
It's just like so fun. Like you just create a really good bond with these guys. Like even some of the guys that, are not playing anymore, that I played with, like you just still connected to them. Like one of my buddies that's out here in California that, we played together that year. We became really close and, still talk to him to this day.
Made your debut, was it May?
Yeah, May. Man, that's embarrassing. I don't know the day exactly.
Did you start the year? So you started the year in the minors, and then
Yeah.
So what was that process like going to the majors?
So it was crazy. So I remember in spring training, I was like, I think I have a chance to make the big league team, but I'm just not. You're never really sure, especially in baseball. Like sometimes you hear the stories of guys getting held back on purpose. Not necessarily that was the case for me, but like you just don't know what's going to happen. So going in spring, I'm like, all right, I'm going to just go and try to fight for a job. So I played really well in the spring. One of the last days they told me, hey, you're going to end up going to AAA. We don't have a spot for you just yet, but keep doing your thing. And for me, it was like so heartbreaking because I was like, man, I really believed it. I was like, if I do what I need to do this spring, I really believe I can make the team, and I did what I need to do. So therefore, like in my head, I was like, okay, I'm making the team now. Like I didn't feel like I succeeded at what I needed to do, and so it was tough. So I went to AAA, and I think it got to my head a little bit. I wasn't playing as good as I could have, just kind of slow offensively, but really just trying to be present every day. It wasn't the easiest, but just trying to do it. And I remember we had a day game. And I was DHing that day. So I think I got out my first at-bat. Second at-bat, I hit a double. I'm on second base. I think it's second and third. One of my teammates hits like a line drive to right field. So the guy on third base was super fast. So he scored. I tagged up. I went to third base. Ended up getting hosed. So I'm in the dugout and I'm sitting there. I was like, My manager comes up to me and he sits next to me and he puts his arm around me and he's like, hey, we can't be making those mistakes. Like you got to be able to like be aware of the situation. I'm like, okay, well, like he never really comes up to me and tells me this stuff. Like he'll like tell me after the game, or like he knows that I know that I messed up.
Right.
He's like, I don't want to do this way. I would have loved to do this a different way. I was like, hey, where is he going?
Yeah, what's going on here?
And he goes, you're a big leaguer now. And I was like, what? I was like, I was mind blown.
After getting hosed at third.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm like, oh man, like I just messed up.
That's crazy.
So, and my manager, he had coached me my first full season in low A. He was with me in high A. He pretty much like moved up with, it was like me and like a group of guys that kind of all moved up together. So low A, high A, double A after COVID, double A, and then triple A to start off this next year. So we became really close. So he was kind of like got a little teary-eyed too. I got teary-eyed. So it was just like a really cool moment. Obviously something that for me I wasn't really expecting at the time because being in the middle of the game.
Yeah, right. He tells you in the middle of the game. So
exactly.
What was your next day, or like after that game? What'd you do?
Dude, I was actually in the middle of the game. I was told, so we had a couple of our front office guys in town, and they told me like, hey, you need to go to the locker room right now. Like you need to hop on a flight to St. Louis because we were playing in St. Louis the next day.
Damn, it's that quick.
That quick.
That's crazy.
Dude, so I literally, this is a crazy part about it. So I go and pack up my locker, which I keep a million things in my locker. Like I'm the worst when it comes to that. So I'm packing my locker, so I do that. It takes me a little while. I have my car. I drive to my apartment. I'm an overpacker.
Mm-hmm.
I have a million things in my apartment. Mm-hmm. So I call my mom and dad. Obviously, I had to talk to them and told them the news. And sometimes I was like, hey, what do I like? I need to pack up my stuff. Like, my mom was like, no, don't worry. I got it. I'll fly out to Omaha and I'll pack up all your stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I get to my apartment. I'm like, I'm not going to have my mom come here. I'm packing up everything. Like, I don't care if it's
everything?
Yeah. Oh, I packed it all. I packed it in my car. Drove. And that took me probably like an hour and a half. Damn. Drove to the airport. Dropped my car off at the airport parking lot where they would always let us keep our cars when we went on road trips. And I just left it there and then flew to St. Louis.
That's
and ended
crazy.
up getting coaches ended up being able to drive my car out later, like after the road trip. But yeah, it was I didn't really have a whole lot of time to really like digest it because I was like my brain was moving a million miles an hour. I was just trying to get everything done, get all the clothes that I needed, try to get all my nice clothes.
Yeah, right. At least you don't overthink it because it's just like we gotta go now.
That's
it's
the
like,
thing, and I remember because the year before that was my first year ever having to move up during a level during the season. I had always in low A I played the full season, high A I played the full season. So that year prior I had moved from AA to AAA. So I remember, having to pack up all your stuff and move. That was kind of a pain in the butt. So
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen at one point. But
was your first big league at bat like the next day?
it was no. So we played in St. Louis a makeup game. Since it was so short notice, they didn't have me play. Gotcha. And then we were back home the next day, and I made my debut DHing.
And how'd you play that game? What was
Good. So my first at bat, grounded out to first base. And my second at bat, this one hurts. It stings a little bit. I hit a ball 102 to left field, and it was cold. It was a little cold, and that was like the whole thing when people were saying like, "Oh, the big league balls are not as hard as they were," which I don't know. They kind of
no comment.
Bro. I'm just gonna say I thought it was a home run off the bat. I thought like no doubt home run off the bat. And he catches it. I think Tyler O'Neill was playing left, and we were playing the Cardinals at our place. And he caught it at the track, and I was like, I hit that ball so well. And then my third at bat, Bobby was on first base, and they had a little bit of a shift going. I was able to hit a line drive to shortstop and to get my first hit. My family was in the stands, so
awesome.
It was a crazy moment, man. Had the chills when that happened for sure.
What's been your most surreal moment so far in the league?
So I think probably we had a doubleheader against the White Sox.
Okay.
Me and Salvi were there. I was scheduled to catch the first game. Salvi was scheduled to catch the night game. I catch the first game. I think Greinke pitched the first game.
Okay.
I want to say maybe pitched the second game. I don't know, but whoever pitched the first game, I think it was Greinke. We had an amazing game. Whatever. We ended up winning. I forget. It was a low-scoring game, but we ended up winning. Caught really well, called a good game, so I was like, all right, this is amazing. So Salvi's coming in to catch the next game, I'm thinking. So we get back to the locker room. We have like 2 hours in between games, and all of a sudden Salvi messed up his thumb. His thumb is hurt. He's not able to catch, so I'm like, uh-oh. We don't have another catcher on the roster. I had come up for somebody who had gotten hurt. So they come ask me, MJ, are you able to catch this next game? I said, 100%.
Yeah.
So it was like the first time in I don't know how many years the catcher had caught back to like the doubleheader, 9-inning doubleheaders, back-to-back same day. So that was pretty cool.
That's crazy.
And that next game, maybe now I'm thinking about it, maybe Greinke pitched the second game, and we ended up winning 2-1, and I hit my first career home run, which was the go-ahead home run.
Wow.
So that whole day was such a crazy day. We ended up winning those games. Might have lost the first one, but we won the second game for sure, I know, and was able to get the home run to take the lead catch both those games. That was a surreal day.
Dude, so what's it like catching for a future Hall of Famer in Greinke? Like, what is that like?
Dude, Greinke is literally, he's the man. He's one of the most fun guys I've ever caught. Growing up, even when I've caught my buddies, dude. But it's just so different. I'm watching him on TV, in high school and middle school, and just seeing what this guy does is just unbelievable. And then next thing you know, I'm literally catching him in the big leagues, and obviously, like, just to see how he developed, how he's adjusted, because, he doesn't throw the 95, 97 that he used to, but he's still able to, go out there, compete, and dominate against lineups, with the stuff that he has. And it's super crazy, super impressive, and he is – probably the smartest pitcher I've ever caught, because he just really knows. He has intent to everything he's doing, and so I've
heard he has like a really unique like training regimen and like warm up. Like, what do you see from him that differs from other pitchers? Because he's been called like the most interesting person in baseball. So like from the inside, why do you think he has that like nickname? Yeah,
I think just his thought process is very specific to him. He's not just going to do what he hears other people do or what he sees other people do. He's going to do what makes him feel good and what he feels can get prepared to go out and pitch in a big league game. And he usually goes out a little bit earlier than most guys typically do. I remember the first start I saw him when Salvi was catching, when I had been in the big leagues, the first start I saw him, I remember he went out so early, and I was like, is Salvi, does he normally go out this early? And Salvi was like,
How you guys doing?
good.
Just wrapping things up.
All right, yeah. Do you want to tell that Greinke story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't remember where we are. I want to say it's probably after the game, like late. Most people had left, and it's like me and a couple guys. And we see on Instagram this story about Zack Greinke, and it's like one of those memes. It's like one of the baseball pages posted, and it's this guy saying that Greinke took his ball that he has to sign and threw it across the field.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
So the story behind that is not like just Greinke just, hey, I'm just going to get this guy's ball and throw it. That's not what happened at all. He literally told us the next day. So we asked him, we got to ask, hey, Greinke, what ended up happening over there? We see that he's like, oh, well, there's a bunch of kids that are lined up at the front, and he's signing for all these kids. And, purposely kind of ignoring the guy that, it's an older guy that's just trying to get his autograph. So he's just signing for the kids. And this guy just keeps following him, and he's putting the ball in front of the kids. So, of course, Greinke, he doesn't really care. He doesn't really have a filter, which I love about him because he'll just tell you how it is. So he just gets the guy's ball and throws it back into the stands like a couple rows deep. I think the story says he throws it onto a field, but he really throws it into the stands like a couple rows deep. And just like, hey, dude, go get that ball. Like, go get your own ball. Like, he's signing for the kids, which, you can understand. So it's not like, oh, hey, I'm just going to get the ball and throw it just because. Like, he had a reasoning behind it.
That's so funny, man. All right, what's up, guys? I'm back at the studio right now. That's going to do it for the episode. I actually had a little bit more film. We probably had like 10 or 15 more minutes, but I kind of want to cut it short because I do want to do a part 2 in season, maybe down in Kansas City or somewhere, and maybe still on the road or something, because I love that conversation. I did want to dig a little more into like his mindset and stuff, but we can hold that off for part 2. Let me know if you guys want to see that. So thank you to MJ once again, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode, and thank you for 20,000 subscribers. Holy cow. And I'm almost at 23,000. So it's been I haven't posted a video in 2 weeks, and I'm already at, again, like 4,000 subscribers just because my shorts are doing really well. Some of my old videos are doing well. So thank you guys again. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. Check us out on Apple Music, Spotify. Enjoy the show is what it's called. We have a lot of cool episodes in the backlog. Not even in the backlog, just in the back, like in the post. I don't know. Go check them out. Thank you guys. So that's gonna do it. A lot of stuff I want to update you guys on in the future, but I'm gonna cut it off right here so I don't drag it on too long. So thank you guys again. Much love to all of you. Subscribe if you're new. See you guys later. Peace.